Hello guys and welcome back. So now in this video what we're gonna do, we will apply damage to the players. Okay, first of all, if we click on the player right here, make the fire rate as 15 for example, and then let's go ahead and play the game. So if we create a room, let's join this room, and now let's start the game. Okay, so now if we shoot, okay, the fire rate is a little bit higher, but we're gonna decrease that to 10 or 9 for example. Okay, but if you notice, when we shoot the player, okay, we can't see the player health decreasing because for now the player doesn't have any health, and also we can't damage the player. So what we want to do in this video is to damage the player and also make that damage available to all of the player. For example, if this player is damaging that one, then this player will know that he is damaging the other player, and the other player will also know that yes, I am taking damage. Okay, so we will actually pass that damage through the network. Okay, and also we're gonna fix the issue with the muzzle flash. So close the game and then let's open up the scripts. First of all, open up the shooting controller. Okay, and after this you need to open the player movement. Now on the player movement, at the top, let's create a header. Let's name this as player health. Okay, and in here we're gonna create a const float, name this as max health or maximum health. It will be 150. Okay, after this, create a public float, current health, and then after this, let's make another header for the references right here in the physics, rigid body, etc., etc. Okay, so we're gonna name this as reference and physics, for example. Okay, so when you do this, scroll down to the awake method, and in the awake method, whenever the game starts, we're gonna set the maximum health value to the current health value. Now we can get back to the shooting controller script now, and let's apply damage to our player. Okay, so in the shoot right here we have comment apply damage to the players, but before that let's extract the hit information. So first of all we're gonna get the hit point and then the hit normal. Okay, so for that we're gonna create a vector 3 by the name of hit point, and this will be equals to hit dot point, and then the next vector 3 will be by the name of hit normal, and this is gonna be equals to hit dot normal. Okay, and the reason we need these two is we're gonna apply damage to the player, so we need this information. Okay, so now as you know that on the player movement script, now we have the player health set up. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna say that if this ray hits anything, as you know that we store that information in the hit, and also we show that name. Now right here what we're gonna do is we're gonna say that if whatever this ray hits, and if that game object has the player movement script. Okay, so first of all we will say player movement, name this as player movement damage this time because we already have a name Player movement, I think. Let me scroll up. Right here, as you can see, player movement. Okay, so you need to make the name of this one as player movement damage. So now this gonna be equals to hit dot collider dot get component, and we want to get the player movement script. Okay, so as I told you, in the hit we stored the information of whatever the ray hits. So now right here we are just simply saying that if the ray hits anything and that has a collider, then we gonna get the component from that game object, and that component should be the player movement script. Okay, so now once we have the player movement script, then right here we gonna say that if the player movement damage is not equals to null, it means that if it has the script, then what we're gonna do, we're gonna apply damage. So we're gonna say apply damage. Okay, now get back to the player movement, and let's create a method right here so that each of the player can take damage, and according to that damage the current health will then get decreased. Okay, so at the bottom we gonna create a public void by the name of apply damage, and this will take a float parameter which will be by the name of damage value. Okay, and in here we're gonna provide the damage as I told you. So first of all, at the top make sure that you type photon.pun, because as I told you we will be passing the damage throughout the network. Okay, the player that is giving the damage should know that that player is giving damage to the other one, and the other one should know that yes, I am taking damage. Okay, so it should be passed through a network. Okay, and in order to pass this damage through network, Photon Pun provides RPC methods. Okay, so we're gonna say pun RPC. If you are using Visual Studio, then you can just simply type the text RPC, and then you can name this as take damage, and it's gonna type this pun RPC automatically, I think. Okay, but if it doesn't, then just type it, and then this RPC underscore take damage should take a parameter type of float by the name of damage. Okay, and right here, whenever the player takes damage, then we're gonna decrease the current health of the player according to that damage value. Okay, and that damage value should be passing from the shooting controller. Okay, so now let's pass a value from this shooting controller to this damage. Okay, so right here on the shooting controller, let me actually save the script right here and then get back right here. So now what we're gonna do right here is we're gonna say that the player movement damage dot apply damage. Okay, and as you know that the applied damage right here takes a parameter float of type float, which is the damage value. So we're gonna pass our damage value from here, and if we notice right here, fire damage. Okay, so our rifle will give a damage of 15. Okay, so right in here we're gonna type fire damage. So now 15 will be passed to this damage value, and then according to this damage value we're gonna decrease the current health. Okay, So now let's complete this script. Okay, right, so now the damage is passed to our player movement. Okay, now let's apply this damage to the player. Okay, so in order to apply the damage to the player, we're gonna pass this damage value to now to this damage. Okay, so in here we can do that, but first of all it needs the photon view component. So right at the bottom we're gonna say photon view. Let's name this as view. Okay, and then in the awake we're gonna say view equals to get component. Let's get the photon view component. Then let's pass now the damage value. So in here we're gonna say view dot rpc, and let's call our rpc take damage, and we, as I told you, we will be passing the damage throughout the network to all of the players that this player is taking damage from that player. Okay, so we're gonna type rpc target dot all. Okay, and to everyone we want to show the damage value. Okay, and after this the damage value is now passed to this damage, so we can now say that current health minus equals to the damage. Okay, so 15 is passed from the shooting controller to this damage value, and then from this damage value to this damage, and then we're gonna decrease the current health by the damage value. Okay, then we're gonna say that if the current health of the player is less than or equals to 0, it means that the player died. Okay, and as you know that when the player died, we're gonna destroy that player and we're gonna respawn that player again. Okay, so right here we need to do that. For this you need to get to the player controller manager script. Okay, and right here, as you can see in the create controller, we are respawning the player. I mean, not respawning, but actually spawning the player on this create controller method. So what we're gonna do now is on this same script at the top, let's first of all create a reference to a game object. Let's name this as controller. Okay, and then in here we're gonna set the controller to this spawning line in which we spawn a player character, so that player character will be equals to this controller now. Okay, and right here pass 0, then new object, and then curly brackets, and then say uh, player controller manager, no, not actually that, say view dot view id. Okay, so we're gonna get the photon view id. Okay, because we need to add that now when respawning a player, so that we know that yes, we are respawning the same player that has died. Okay, after this we're gonna create a public void by the name of die, and in here we're gonna say Photon network dot destroy, and we want to destroy the controller which is spawned before. Okay, and whenever we destroy a player, then we're gonna respawn that player as well. So we're gonna call the create controller method again, so that the player is then again spawn in the game. Okay, and the reason we are using network photon network dot destroy is because we want to destroy the player for all of the players. Okay, we want to pass that destroying thing throughout the network, so that's why we are using this. Now we can kill a player. So now in here on the player movement script, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make this die now a method, and at the bottom let's create a private void die, and now inside this die we're gonna call this die method. Okay, this one. So first of all, let me check at the top if we have a reference. So we don't have any reference to the player controller manager. So let's just do it right here. We're gonna say player controller manager. Let's name this as player controller manager as well. Right. Then in the awake, we need to set this reference, and now for setting this specific reference we need to get the player controller manager of that player that has died. Okay, so in order to search for that we need to type player controller manager equals to photon view dot find. Okay, and we need to say now int, then right here we're gonna type view dot instantiation, actually instantiation data pass 0, and then we're gonna say dot get component, and we need to get the player manager script. Okay, now this line just simply, as I told you, will find the controller manager script of that player that has died. Okay, and now once we have that in the die method, now just simply say player controller manager dot die. Okay, simple as that. So now this gonna destroy the player and then respawn it back again. Alright, and I think we are good to go. And for the muzzle flash, we didn't add the muzzle flash and also the blood effect, but for now let's just test this out, and after that we're gonna add these two. Okay, it is showing an error on the player movement 58 line. Okay, so let's check it out. 58 right here. And the reason it is showing that is right here we type player manager, it is actually player controller manager. Okay, so now what I will do is I will go ahead and open up the player movement script again. Okay, and right here we need to type if the view is not ours, it means that uh, if this isn't our player, then we want to give damage. I mean, if this isn't our player, then we want to return and don't want to give the damage. And also, let me tell you that This apply damage method will run on the shooter computer. For example, if I am shooting the other player, then this method will run for me, and this RPC underscore take damage method will run on everyone's computer. Okay, so when it runs on everyone's computer, it gonna know that the player is taking damage. And also the view dot is mine is not what this check means. That is, it just simply uh, make sure that it only runs on the victim's computer, okay, the one who is taking the damage. Okay, and also right here we will not be able to see if the player is taking damage or not. So for that we're gonna uh, put a message in the console which will be by the name of damage taken. Then we're gonna pass the damage value in order to show how much damage it takes. Okay, and also we're gonna show the current health. So let's pass current health right here. That is it. Now if we save the script, get back right here, click on the player and make the fire rate as 8 for example, and everything else is good. Let's make the fire range as 200. Alright, now let's build the game and test it out. So the game is running. Let's create a room, join that room. Let's start the game. Okay, so here it is. There is the player. Now let me click on console, clear it out, and now let's try to damage. Okay, let me move a little bit away from it. So as you can see, we can damage the player. Okay, and as you can see, when the current health of the player decreased to 0, the player is respawn again. Okay, let me move the player, for example, right here for now. And I know the player is shooting a little bit slow now, but don't worry, at the end of this course we're gonna fix all of these small issues. Okay, but for now let's uh, test this out again. Okay, okay, so there is some problem with the camera angle. Okay, so now as you can see, when the uh, player health becomes 0 again, as you can see now, you can see 222 in all of them because the player health was decreasing second time. Okay, so the current health, when it becomes 0, it respawn the player at the same position again. And now if we try to kill this player, as you can see, okay, we are hitting the grass. Now we are hitting the player clone, and as you can see, it shows player clone, we were hitting it, and now as you can see, when the player dies, he respawns there back again. And if you check the other player, as you can see, the player is respawn. Okay, so in this way our respawn things work perfectly fine. There is still issue with our shooting, but don't worry about it. Okay, in the next video we're gonna add a crosshair, the blood effect and the muzzle flash effect in our game, because this video already becomes a little bit lengthy. So see you guys in the next one.